Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of SoFi Weekly. This is the earnings preview, but before we begin, we have a $100 wager between Tevis, ranked at 1,500 on the ELO chess thing, Tannor, ranked at 900. If Tannor loses, he will buy Tevis $100 worth of SoFi at the closing price on Monday. If Tevis loses, Tannor will buy the vice versa, right? If Tannor loses Tevis, if Tevis loses Tannor's. Here we go. 1 minute on the clock. Let's chess. This is for $100 of SoFi on the opening bell on Monday. Begin.
Go ahead, Tevis. Let's go.
It's like
okay, so it looks like there's a big lead with the horses.
Is there a big lead?
It is white.
Oh, what a crushing blow!
The rooks just took the rooks.
You guys are so fucking lame.
We've got what do we
I
got?
absolutely did not agree to this $100. Like, he's gonna crush me, but if anyone knows anything about chess, the difference
Tanner's doing what Elon
1,500
does. Tanner's trying to make it seem like he's gonna fail, and then he's gonna come back and make everyone excited. Here we go. What's gonna happen? Black is Tannor, white is Tevis. There's Tevis with the rook and the horse. The rook goes to G4, D3 on Tevis.
This is a great commentary.
Oh,
so
yeah,
we've got a pawn figuring out what it needs to do.
Noto's watching football, and SoFi Weekly's doing like a chess tournament.
Here we go. 46 seconds left on the clock. Who will buy $100 worth of SoFi on Monday? Boom. The elephants killed each other. Okay.
The elephants?
You know, in India, it's called the elephant, right? It's called.
I did not.
Yeah.
I think that's where it originated too.
Yeah.
Come on, boys. I don't know what to do.
They were never actually knights in the original game. They were elephants.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
only when it emerged in Europe did they become knights.
Yep.
Fun fact, history.
All right. So I think someone's in the lead.
Is that what you think?
We got 53
Astute,
people waiting.
very
He
astute.
was down $100, and then we'll talk about SoFi. Put in the chat your average on SoFi. Tell us what your average is on SoFi.
Ooh, I want to
If
see
you
that.
want to disclose, we've got SoFi closing at 6. What did it close today?
It's over, boys.
619. 619 today on SoFi. There we go. What do we
It's
got?
over. Pity check.
Uh-oh. What's going to happen? Someone lose?
Oh, the resignation.
There we go. Tevis has won, and now Tannor, you're buying $100.
It kicks me off.
Oh, I thought he left.
It's 100 Canadian dollars, so don't worry about it.
Oh, thank God.
Dude, look at all these liars in the chat. Does everybody watching have a $5 average? That's a load of malarkey.
Malarkey.
More.
I mean, bro, people have been averaging down. No, not everyone bought it. Chamat's bullshit.
No way, dude.
But I mean, like, that's it's just how it is.
There's no way.
Dude, that bullet gets my heart pumping.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, we got stuff to talk about. SoFi earnings on Monday. First of all, I mean, I'll be live streaming it. So these guys, I believe all of us will be here. If some of you can't, that's okay. But I know I'll be here. So any of you guys can come up. I think it's like 7:30 in the morning. So we'll be live streaming, listening, and streaming the call there. So you guys can join then. Yeah, let's get into it. What are some top level expectations that we've got? Riley, you want to start?
Yeah, 500,000 member growth. It just sounds like that's going to be like the easiest prediction. Hopefully I'm not wrong. You got the stadium, which as the year wanes, it becomes more popular because the football season really ramp up. SoFi Plus membership, they really like focused the latter half of the year on making that a really cool product. So hopefully that differentiates their offering enough to where people understand it and they want to join. What is it? Options came out. I remember hearing a lot of people last year say that they would join SoFi as soon as they got options. Well, SoFi did. Hopefully that has some effect on Q4. Probably not a lot, but other than that, the APY is just industry leading. So there's just a lot of catalysts that really look like SoFi is going to be making a pretty big membership jump in Q4. Hopefully, this is the last time we go under 500,000 members per quarter. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at their trend of quarterly, like sequential growth quarter over quarter, I think just Q3, which is the last quarter that we're just coming out of, or that we just reported, that's the only one that's like underperformed the 10, 11% bottom threshold. And so the reason why everybody's like, well, we're going to add 500,000, and you're very confident about that, is because you just take 4.7 million, members, and then you just apply 11%, and you're over, 500,000 there. So the real question with regards to the member additions is, and similar story with products as well, right? If you just take the averages of the quarter over quarter increases and you apply those to what we can expect, you'll be sitting at around 520,000 members, and then somewhere around like between 730 to 800,000 products added. Obviously, that is if we're expecting a beat on numbers, which I think a lot of us, I think we all are. And that would put them to around, over 5 million members and around almost at 8 million total products, which I'd love to see them hit 8 million, but that's a little bit of a stretch. We'll see.
So I'll come out and say that I do not think we're going to get 500,000 members. Might be the only person thinking that. I don't know if they'll come close. But that's
and you're just
me.
saying that just to say that.
No,
just
I'm
to
not.
be divisive.
I don't know how anyone thinks that we're going to get above 500,000. Doesn't make any sense to me. So what I'll say is that we're guiding for 400,000, and a big conspiracy theory for everyone is that, we have all these additional features on top of it that will lead us above it. I think that they know that those catalysts were coming, like NFL season and all these things, and they're just going to cut spending. Like the Plaid CEO said, a lot of these fintechs are just going to be trying to hit profitability. If that's the case, they are going to cut spending as much as possible if they can still hit their targets on growth. So I think 400,000 is still going to be, obviously, I think more than 400,000, maybe 450, somewhere there. But I think once they hit around that target, I bet spending just got absolutely cut. Because that is really the metric that Wall Street is worried about. They're not worried about growth right now. They're worried about profitability. And I think that will be the absolute highest priority this quarter, and it's not going to be members.
So quick question for you. So do you really think Noto isn't really prioritizing member growth? Because I have a sneaking suspicion that he isn't. Because so many people. Okay, so what I heard recently is that in America, on average, people stick with their banks for at least 14 years on average, but their net promoter score is abysmal. Only 33% of people, somewhere really far down low there, actually enjoy their banking experience. So maybe they don't really care about member growth because they know in the long term, as long as they build a good product, they'll get that member growth catching on fire. I think what they're really focused is just the back end technology and the B2B or banking as a service platform. What do you think? It's weird to me that the company wouldn't be super hyper focused on members, but I guess I don't know. What do you think?
How does this quarter separate itself from any other quarter? The net promoter scores on banks and people being unhappy with all the terrible fees and everything like this has happened since SoFi's been around. We touched 500,000 member growth one time, I think it was, and it was at the peak of our growth season. Whenever in Wall Street it was growing at all costs. It's not that anymore. It's secure at all costs.
I think there is a big similarity though with the last time when we touched 500,000. The reason why the last time was exceptional was because the baseline of total members was so much lower, and so 500,000 to 3.8 million is much different than 500,000 to 4.8 million, But the last time when we touched it, we were in a similar situation with regards to the refinancing surge that was caused on by the moratorium. Now, the only thing about the last time was that the moratorium was essentially extended late in December. So literally everybody in that quarter refinanced because they all thought it was going to start back in January. Whereas this quarter, Biden came out with an announcement in the end of October. So you have a much higher, period of time where that refinancing surge would be much less comparatively. But I don't think it's going to be so much less that we won't even hit 10% growth or 11% growth.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell, right? Like, I don't know if the moratorium is going to be enough to bring on another 50,000 people or not. And if that's the case, like, are we going to see, 50,000 or 100,000 new members sign up for student loans on the first half of Q4? Like, I don't know. That seems like a lot. I feel like we'll probably get 2,000 student loans.
So let me ask you this. Do you think we're going to miss on any of the metrics, like top line, bottom line?
No, I don't think we're going to miss any more because of his purchases. Some people were trying to state that. I don't know why he would try to burn money throwing it into a market right before earnings. I feel like he would purchase after Q4 if that was the case. But I don't think we're going to see anything spectacular. I think it's going to be a really hard quarter, and we will give good enough numbers. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I think that's almost what I want to see. I want to see that our personal loan originations are not shrinking, because I don't want to see, like Chris Hager did this amazing post where he was talking about how, and I've always talked about this too, is that we were kind of pegged with Lending Club all the way up. And Lending Club always showed off their earnings first. And then it was a great indicator to know that SoFi was having a good quarter. And that was the way all the way till Q3 of 2022, last quarter. Whenever Lending Club reported bad earnings because of slowing growth, because they were worried about the market, and SoFi did not. They continued pushing forward. And that actually made us have a great market. And, into Q3, then we actually ended up seeing worse statistics because people got more scared, and now people are starting to put more risk on money. So we'll have to see. But yeah.
Yeah, could you let's show that chart that Chris
I can do that.
Yeah.
I threw it up in the chat right here, Amit.
To add a color to what you're saying, that it is Upstart and Lending Club were originating way more loans than SoFi. And SoFi was just slowly getting up there, very stable, but both of which Lending Club and Upstart kind of had, I guess, some shaky last few quarters with everything. But SoFi looks to be like it's just continuing to go up. When do you think it's going to – how long do you think we can actually grow this?
So before that, before we go into like that, let's just explain this chart, right? Because it seems as though Upstart, which is in red, Lending Club, which is in green, both of them plateaued respectively in the first half of 2022. And since
this is only personal loans.
Yeah, personal loans. Since that time, they've been coming down, whereas SoFi has been gradually ramping up Q1, Q2, Q3, and that's expected. This is why Chris Hager in this chart is expecting SoFi to come up above Lending Club in Q4, essentially that blue bar to be above the green bar, if the trend continues where Lending Club continues to fall and SoFi continues to rise. I guess this is also supported by the fact that, well, it's also made more significant by the fact that SoFi's average FICO scores and average salaries are much higher. They're targeting like the very high end, very financially responsible users in terms of growing sustainably, which would make this all the more interesting chart. I mean, I had a couple of questions around this chart, particularly why do we think Lending Club and Upstart is falling?
I was just about to ask that. Why do we think Upstart's going down? Is it like bad publicity around the company?
No.
Are
there AI software algorithms not predicting loans the most accurate way, right? Like,
just people stopped buying their product. Chris Hager went really in depth on this topic on my channel. He So, I can't speak to it, but I know it's not that their business model crashed. It's just not. It's a very
So
very targeted niche, and it's not profitable in this type of economic environment. But it will be as soon as there's some relief.
So Chris is actually in the YouTube chat. He said Lending Club already reported. I think they reported last week or 2 weeks ago. Only 2.5 billion in originations for Q4. So 2.5 billion would be even smaller than what SoFi reported in third quarter. So it's even under that blue line. So basically, all SoFi has to do is like maintain that same originations for fourth quarter, and they've already beaten Lending Club.
Well, yeah. See, that's the thing, right? Is that up until last quarter, and you can see here that Lending Club was a pretty good predictor of how SoFi was going to grow. Like we were both headed up, and then Upstart sort of depegged, and then Lending Club, and now is SoFi going to be able to continue to grow? And that's why there was this article that was just posted, like SoFi, the last lender standing, and that's pretty much what we're seeing here, right? Are we going to be able to continue to go out there? And I think we will. And mainly because of last quarter's earnings calls, Lending Club was very afraid. The whole thing, they were like, we really need to slow down. We're seeing lots of red signs, and that's just not what Noto is kind of putting out there. He's saying the opposite. We're hiring, still promoting their personal loans. So who knows? And then even that could be a bad sign. That means that we could put ourselves into higher risk, or he could be absolutely right, and everyone else is over worried in a sense.
So presumably, could one reason why the originations for Lending Club and Upstart falling be because SoFi is just gaining, that market share, that
I don't think so.
Or am I just stretching it?
I think we own 5% of the personal loan market. Nowhere near enough where these companies are taking a bigger slice of the pie.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure out of the three, SoFi has the highest quality people by far. And then I think Lending Club just didn't hold their loans long. They didn't have that spring that SoFi has. I could be wrong though. Don't quote me. We should really have Chris on for this discussion. He's literally the resident expert. I'm sorry,
Chris, if you're still watching, by the way, you can come on if you want. I'm sure Amit will send you the link.
Yeah, I can do that right now.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
What were you saying?
If he could, he's a busy guy. I know Lending Club. I could be wrong, but Lending Club doesn't hold their loans on their book for any sort of time. They just sell it immediately, or but SoFi holds for like 6 months.
I think it's the opposite. I think we hold to sale, and they hold for maturity.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to the member growth. Tannor, you think it's going to be, you're more conservative on this. Do you think there was not enough advertising done in Q4 to also justify 500,000 members? Or do you think people in general wouldn't be interested in Q4 for whatever reasons?
No. I don't think it's interest. I don't think it's interest at all. I just don't think it's marketing. I think they're cutting back to save on sales and marketing expense. And I think the interest is definitely there. And if not more, but then with more interest, that means that they have to spend less to still hit their targets. Well, and so they're going to put that, remaining amount to the bottom line.
I actually want to just push back on that, because I think with SoFi being very deliberate in terms of maintaining the high FICO scores, they can artificially boost member growth whenever they want by just lowering their FICO score threshold a little bit and just being a little bit more lax with their criteria. No?
I would say no, because our FICO scores are only for our lending partners. That's a small portion of our members. The majority of our members are in money, invest, and these sorts of products where we don't track that. Like I was just doing this for an upcoming video, looking at average incomes for our users. Well, how do you do that, right? Because on lending, it's 160,000. Whenever you include money, invest, and all these products, they don't really track those numbers. So it's kind of hard. And I'm trying to find out a system to try to ballpark that number, but it's tough. It's definitely lower, right? Because we reject 70% of the applications for lending, for personal loan lending and everything like this, because other people just don't qualify. So those 70% of people are already SoFi partners that potentially don't have the FICO scores or don't have the income. And so I don't know if that necessarily, they correlate member growth to lending products.
Right. And the other thing is, like, we increased the APY. We kept increasing it throughout fourth quarter. That could also have a positive impact on member growth as well.
Absolutely.
Hey, Amit, I sent you a picture real quick in your Twitter DMs. You could pull that up. This is something that comes directly from Chris's article, and it talks about the sales and marketing spend per new member. It looks like it's increasing a bit. Did any of you guys get a chance to read the specifics part? Basically, he's saying like this is the customer acquisition cost for SoFi's member for the sales. And it was like stupidly high back in 2020, but it has decreased. But if you look at the like near term trend, it looks like it's going up. So hopefully, like guidance, we get some insight on maybe having more efficient like marketing side, because it looks like they are spending more and more for each user, like since the past like year and a half.
Well, the truth is that it's perfectly fine, right? Like if we're able to spend more and the people that we're bringing in are personal loan users with high interest rates, and we're continuing to keep high FICO scores, high incomes, and everything like this, which means they're a safe borrower, but our net interest income and our net interest margin are still growing. It's like, okay, well then, so can our expense to actually go and find these customers. This is what he said last earnings, is that it's like customer acquisition cost is not the same across the board. If you look at Nubank or Square, where they have under $10 CACs, well, then you also have to look at, okay, well, these are minimum wage users and they're borrowing $200 on an average loan. Okay. Whenever we look at SoFi, these are people who are making $160,000 and they're borrowing $25,000 and paying a 14% interest on that. Like, it's incredibly different,
Yeah, and the other thing, just to piggyback on that point, I mean, Riley, you said it yourself with the lifetime values, right? So I think the correspondence of like what is the customer acquisition cost correspond with the lifetime value of that cohort of users, which we don't necessarily have that data to see that correlation, right? So it's slightly, we're flying slightly blind from that perspective.
So just instead of looking at the increased spending as a negative, it could be a positive. They're just being more aggressive.
Yeah, well, being more selective, being very selective with who they want.
Yeah, and I think looking at just like that customer acquisition cost, we can probably draw more insights from it after the earnings, where we see what the flywheel of lending to financial services came out for the next quarter, so that we can see, okay, based on that customer acquisition cost, like what was the relative uplift in the cross-selling opportunities for those users?
Right.
Can we talk a little bit about the stock price? Why did we think it's up 43% for the month? Do we think even if we hit it out of the park on earnings, is there more appreciation in this market to go? I mean, obviously none of us know, right? But it's already up 40% in a month. Feels like it's a good earnings.
It doesn't feel like it feels like we're completely not in 2022. 22 feels like a fever dream. Like this doesn't make sense. This didn't happen in 2022. Like this whole month, it was a lot quicker to fall down.
In 2022, there were months where the S&P went up 10%, presumably like around April.
Yeah, like in
a little bit of March.
April. Yeah,
like that's what I'm saying. There were these kind of peaks and valleys.
Yeah, I mean, this could just be a bear market rally, guys. It's too early to call it.
100%.
But like the fact that SoFi is up, 40% plus in the month is just attributed. I mean, Tesla's up 65% year to date just in the last month. Like, what I'm saying? Like, it's just a rally across the board. But what I will say about SoFi's earnings is that there's a clear trend in what the stock does. In other words, in the last three earnings, if you just look at it, they just shoot up intraday. And then sometimes they give up the gains in a week. Sometimes they give up the gains intraday as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if SoFi comes out and double beats and reports fantastic numbers, and the stock is up 20% when the market opens, and then when the market closes, it's maybe up like 7%. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Like it's happened a lot.
Or negative.
Yeah.
Up 20% and then just throughout the day it just collapses. That's the SoFi curse. But one day they'll appreciate us.
And weren't the Galileo and Technisys acquisitions just like blindsided like on the quarterly earnings? Like didn't they like did they release those? They only released that type of news like during the quarterly earnings, right? Like big stuff.
What do you
like
mean
that.
exactly?
Because I remember back in 2021, I remember watching a video Tevis did, and he was going through just the 10K and seeing like the effects that Galileo had on the stock price, but saying like SoFi was doing well. Do they release like those big acquisitions in the earnings? They just they don't do that, do they?
Yeah, so not the acquisitions. No, the Technisys' acquisition was just right in the middle of the week. I remember, like, where were you whenever SoFi bought Technisys? Yeah, so I don't think they'll report anything in particular,
Crazy.
especially like guys, we're not giving enough weight to how much stock Noto purchased. There's not going to be any behind the scenes secret new product acquisition or anything, considering he bought this quarter, because that would give him a big magnifying glass from the SEC. It'll be a good quarter, potentially, is what I'm thinking, because obviously...
Why do you think there would be a magnifying glass?
Material non-public information.
Yeah, purchasing on non-public information. It's not allowed.
If he purchases before
it's disclosed.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So if he knows something that, and like with Technisys, they knew and they were looking into purchasing that company for like 5 or 6 months before they actually did. Mm-hmm. So they could be looking at a stock right now and or a company to purchase as maybe a home lender or something like this to facilitate those loans, and that could absolutely be in the books. I don't think it'll be this quarter. Mm-hmm. Not at all.
So you don't think there's any unique Galileo growth this quarter?
No, not growth. I'm talking about an acquisition.
Okay. So
they mentioned in October, man, that like right now that they're focused. If something presents itself that's really, really compelling, then they would go for it. But other than that, they would be heads down because they need to absorb the full costs of tech.
Exactly, but valuations are cheaper than ever. So
sure, but that applies for SoFi too.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Okay, so then let's transition to Galileo. Is there anything we think has happened in Q4?
Well, actually, can I because I just want to say one more piece that I wanted to bring up, because I saw someone in the comments saying, I just want to address before we move on to tech platform. So the thing said he was expecting a lot of growth because the APY increase for SoFi Money, so that he thought that there would be more members over 500,000. All I will say about this is that yes, that's absolutely going to attract more members. 3.75% APY is going to attract more members. But even if it attracted 400,000 new members at SoFi Money, their sales and marketing budget, I think, would be zero this quarter. That's all I'm saying. Like they will cut it all the way down to zero if it means that they can still hit their targets. So that's why it's not like, this is the way I'm seeing it. I could be wrong, but the way I see it is, it's not like their growth and then all these things on top. It's these things on top are going to cut down our sales and marketing budget, which is still going to be good. It means our member growth that we could expect is instead going to go to earnings per share and potentially, well, still net losses, but better net losses.
Do you know the dollar amount, how much we spend on sales and marketing?
Not on me. I can get it for you. We can go on to, I have all the acquisition costs and everything. Like instead of just the dot plot that you saw Chris Haggard show, I can show you guys the actual numbers if you'd like. But go ahead. Let's go into tech platform while I bring this up.
So, sorry, Tevis, I know you're eager to talk. What is it? Chris Hager, he does not think that the Galileo accounts are going to grow all that much just because the macroeconomic environment of all these fintech companies are down. And so our expectations are for it to decline. That's what Chris is projecting, and I agree with him.
I don't think it's going to decline. I think it's just not going to grow as fast.
The rate, sorry,
the rate to decline. Yeah, I mean, look, we all were on the podcast when we talked about the comments from the Plaid CEO around what he was seeing in the B2B sector. Wallets are tightening. I mean, the cool news, and we can dive a little bit deeper into this in the news segment, was like MasterCard and Plaid both mentioned SoFi this week. And I still hold by my guess that this is the year that they're going to drop a big name, probably a legacy financial institution as a partner, or partner as in a client of Galileo's. I don't necessarily think that's going to be this quarter, but could be. And but it just makes sense with the direction of where things are going, from just a regulatory perspective of these banks needing to get off their legacy platforms. I still, I think I don't disagree with Chris. I think it's going to be a tightening of wallets from other businesses, but I guess we'll see. I mean, Galileo has been killing it lately.
What I will say,
they need to go for it.
Oh, I was like, so some of these quarters that we've put out recently have had 10 to 12 new Galileo clients potentially. And whenever you actually follow Galileo's blog posts and their press releases, you might see 3 or 4 partnerships that they actually put a spotlight on. Mm-hmm. And then, so I always think to myself, I go, okay, where are the 6 or 7 other partners? Like I want to be able to track all these names so I can see their progress and then, kind of have fun with that. But then half of these names are missing. And so people like, in the SoFi community are trying to do deep dives, trying to find out who these partnerships are. The reason why I bring this up is because I think if there was a big partnership this quarter, which could definitely have happened, are we sure that Citibank or, Goldman or one of these companies would even want to tell people who their partners even are? And that it would just be, we got a new big financial client, and that they're not actually putting a spotlight on it.
You know how I know that they haven't gotten a big legacy bank? It's because these banks keep lowering their price targets on SoFi. So
that's a fact.
I don't agree, but you guys, everyone's on the conspiracy train with this analyst stuff. I see it everywhere. I don't believe in it at all.
Can we riff on this real quick? This comment from Tim. We don't have to spend a lot of time, but what is our advantage with Galileo? I know it's a long topic, but I guess the TLDR, who wants to answer that question?
So you're looking at 2 companies that sell individual products, and banks need both of them. And everywhere else that they go on the marketplace, they have to partner with 2 separate partners that have individual pricings, different packages, different timings, and everything along these lines. Galileo and Technisys are going to market as a joint venture, and they can sell it in one bundle, which has pricing power. You can see that in any package sale. I think of, Salesforce with Slack and everything along those lines. It's so much easier to sell a B2B package as a combined, tandem product. So they actually have pricing power because they can offer those 2 unique products in the price of one. Well, not one, but a bundling sale.
Yeah, and if he's asking what like Galileo and Technisys' moat is, or their competitive edge, they're basically building the out-of-the-box components for these companies to provide financial services backend. So instead of building everything in-house, you're just paying this company like on a B2B side. So for example, let's say you run a sales company, you're going to want something to track your customers. You might become a client of Salesforce. And like, that's essentially what it is. You're not going to build everything in-house. You're trying to maintain it through spreadsheets, which is what a lot of these banks are doing, built on COBOL, a programming language from the 50s. But they can now jump onto Galileo's, and it's all out of the box. And so that's essentially what the value proposition is.
Okay.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to know though, because they are really, really tight-lipped about what they're doing. I did send a message to the CTO at Technisys on Twitter, and he replied, and he said that they're like working on products not just for banks, but also just B2B players that just need to upgrade their financial stuff. Like Technisys, I thought when I first learned about it, it was just strictly for banking, but it looks like Galileo and Technisys, especially so back in early 2022, a lot of us thought that Galileo and Technisys were trying to just win over banks, but that's not the case anymore. It does look like they are focusing on B2B companies and working like I know a couple SoFi weeklies ago we talked about Galileo's new products for B2B card issuing and stuff for like fleet controls and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know how SoFi is going to take advantage for B2B players. You know, I don't know what that looks like, but I think that the strategy is that TAM, the market of B2B like finance, is growing faster than people would like to realize because America is really far behind. And once you land those customers, they're there forever. So I don't know. Maybe they're tracing evergreen like big trees and the B2B space, but it is clear that they are switching to that right now.
And the interesting part is like, so I in my day job work at a B2B company in the tech space as a product
SoFi?
manager.
You're
Not
in SoFi?
SoFi.
You're in
Not
SoFi?
SoFi.
You've been insider telling us all this info?
Not in SoFi yet. And so the cool thing, Riley, is that these businesses, man, become so dependent on tools like Galileo, let's say, back-end providers or out-of-the-box tools, and the retention rates that you see in a B2B SaaS company, like a software as a service, is incredibly high. Your dollar net expansion rate is over 100%. In other words, you have everybody, 100% of people renewing, plus people doing even more business with you in terms of expansions and extensions of their contracts. Because think about it, right? Think about if you're a business and you're doing it all on like Google Docs and Excel sheets, and it's just this like spit and bubble gum put together infrastructure, and all of a sudden you move on to Salesforce and everything is custom, everything is like just for you, and it works for your business. It's so difficult to detach yourself from that and go back in house. You're just never going to do it. So that's a sunk cost, and that becomes like a permanent thing for these businesses. And so, yeah, the lifetime value on their business to consumer side might be 14 years. The average lifetime value of a like person who gets a mortgage with SoFi, but on their Galileo side, it's going to be for as long as that business is still operating, because it's so impossible to get off of it.
Do you think SoFi is going to try to open up a business-facing bank for businesses? They have Galileo and Technisys already offering B2B products. Imagine you have your bank also interlinked with all of the software that you use that's all already under on one umbrella. That's something that they have never ever talked about. But I mean, how could it, like, if we're really thinking like long-term focus, like 10 years from now, there's no reason not to, right?
Yeah.
What do y'all think?
We don't need to think really cool. We don't need to think outside the box for like interesting new synergies and ideas, because the total addressable market, like you just said, for Galileo is so absolutely gigantic that that alone, should we capture even half of that market or a quarter of that market, will be enough to justify SoFi being multiples higher than here.
If we capture 5% of the B2B market, we will be in a different world from here.
So like we don't even need to worry about like how do we create a new product line, because like you're mining for gold in the gold rush.
It's a $400 trillion market, right? Like 50% of it is still done on checks. It's a massive, massive market. So, and then like Riley said, this is a market that it's not just banks. It's also anything with transactions. So internal payroll, or, any sort of retail customer space or anything along these lines can all be something that they can benefit from our services. And yeah, it's absolutely awesome. And in this link between also like what I really like about SoFi is the partnerships that we're making. Like we're growing with a lot of other fast growing companies. Like maybe someone has this video ready or something along these lines with the partnership with Plaid. Did you guys see that?
There's a video on that.
That's how Relay works. That's is Plaid is SoFi has this budgeting software that tracks everything, which is so cool because I have my Roth IRA, I have my car, I got like everything else, I got my credit cards all linked up through SoFi via Plaid, and SoFi tracks my net worth and everything, my credit score, just everything. The SoFi Relay thing is really cool because that's how SoFi like figures out like who to lend to, all the data that it's going to be using in the future that is going to drive profitability, and behavioral data is going to be driven through that. So yeah, Plaid is like an amazing partner.
Soft credit checks, right? That's pretty much what it's for. It's like we can create internal processes to actually check on, how secure these clients are. And then they, for the longest time, cannot use that data and then see how it correlates with their, fake data and then potentially even start leaning on it. So
that's one thing that nobody's going to be able to compete with SoFi on. We have a moat there that nobody recognizes, like Upstart. There's no
I don't know about
way.
that.
Really?
I think
you don't think so?
Companies with a lot more clients than us.
Well, 100%. But like Upstart, if we're talking about how valuable data is and figuring out like who is creditworthy, whoever has the most data is going to have the biggest ability to be able to offer loans at like a lower rate or a competitive rate safely, and Upstart doesn't have that. That all they have is the FICO. And you can also link other accounts through Plaid, but nobody's going to sit there adding 15 accounts. So Upstart has the biggest like data advantage or anything. SoFi is just going to know your cash flow and all of the things that you own already. And they're going to be able to be like, yeah, this guy can cover it easily. That's a really, yeah.
Can I ask a question to the person in the chat right now? Timothy Pryor said, SoFi Relay is what got me onto the app, then credit card, then invest. And then he goes on to say, then personal loan. Can you, if you mind sharing, what are the details on that personal loan and when did you sign up for it? If you care on sharing, obviously, we don't really know who you are. So,
can I just say that I love that? Because that's exactly like the type of user or member that we've been talking about for the longest time, and why that whole bull thesis on that flywheel makes so much sense for SoFi is people like Timothy.
The funny thing is, I came in as an investor on none of that. I came in on the Galileo stuff, and then you guys got me into understanding the personal banking stuff, and I was like, oh, this is even more interesting. So there's a lot of stuff to look at when it comes to SoFi. Having said that, can we talk a little bit about this crypto stuff? Riley tweeted, starting on February 1st, you will not be able to redeem SoFi points for crypto. Riley, can you explain the implications of this and if you think it's a big deal?
Well, yeah. I mean, what do you think? As like,
I don't care about crypto, so I don't give a fuck.
Exactly. Yeah, but for real, we did cover the letter that the 4 senators sent Anthony Noto about how we are dangerous to the safety of retail investors. SoFi is horrible, and they cited our crypto product, and obviously our crypto product was really like literally the safest thing you could possibly have in an investment platform.
It's a little bit safer than FTX, just a little,
just a little bit.
Yeah, and it turned out to be a big nothing burger. But SoFi kind of has been taking steps to like push themselves away from the whole thing. So literally the day after our Q4 earnings, SoFi, you won't be able to redeem SoFi reward points for crypto any longer, which is I guess a small step on a long process of getting rid of crypto in the long term. I don't know. Maybe they keep crypto, but I think that
I don't think they
they've
can,
had
though,
their
right?
big scare.
Wasn't it part of the bank charter that by like 2024, 2025, they have to get rid of it completely?
See. Here's the thing, though. It's a separate business. It's not technically. So Noto actually responded on Twitter a long time ago saying like it's completely separated, or I think he said it in the quarterly earnings how it's separated. But it technically we're completely as the business stands now, it doesn't affect our standing. But I don't know. How would I say that? I don't know. Maybe it is a time delay, like 2026.
If I'm not mistaken, our crypto product is definitely going to be shut down. But
wait. You mean people won't be able to trade crypto on the app? You think?
Correct. Yeah. So that's part of us becoming a bank, and we just don't have approval for it right now. We have a conditional approval.
SoFi did fire their entire crypto team, or they didn't fire, but they let them go. Our old in 2019, our chief crypto product officer, whatever, he now works at what's that language company that teaches you
Duolingo.
Duolingo. He works at Duolingo now.
And 2019, that was even before the bank charter too.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was when they were making all those products.
Yeah. So, I think it's going to be closed down. I think that's what the conditions were for us becoming a bank. It was just what we stepped over the line. Like we spoke about this on one of our first SoFi weeklies. I think it's just that they did innovate a little bit on a crypto product where they weren't supposed to. And they're supposed to be divesting for the next 2 years, and then they have next 3 years, but they have the optionality to extend for 2 more years. So a possibility of 5 years since we first got approval of the bank charter back in January of 2022. Yeah.
Yep.
So we still have a lot of time.
We just passed the mark. It was like January 16th, 2020.
Right. So there you go.
You're big. And the crypto thing. I mean, again,
like that on my birthday.
We only make money off crypto for payment for order flow. I mean, it's nothing compared to the other parts of the business. So
it's negligible on the actual income statement. It's just an optics thing, and it's like they're moving further away from like the fintech, retail crowd that can trade. It's like the cool Robinhood, equivalent that can trade crypto, and more towards the like playing with the big boys in the banks that it's taken a little bit more seriously because now they can, turn that conditional approval into an actual charter and not mess around with anything that is deemed risky by the consensus.
Right.
That's weird. It's weird to know that Anthony Noto has personally traded a lot of crypto on the SoFi app through his social profile. And now that they're getting rid of it.
It's not like it's his decision. It's the bigger of two evils.
No,
right?
I mean, he actually,
It's not his decision, man. They're like basically holding the bank charter over their head. And of course, they're not going to risk the bank charter for crypto, which is like so small in terms of their revenue.
Yeah, of course.
I'm seeing.
Hold on. Let's look at Timothy. He responded to Tanner's question. Part 1: details on my personal loan. 51,000 at 16.5%. 84 months. $1,000 monthly payment. I took the money and started a poor man covered call portfolio. Part 2: since August 22, I've generated 42,000 in option premium, so loan is almost paid for itself. Wow.
There we go, Timothy. Good for you, buddy.
There you go. Not bad.
Love to hear
it.
Super.
Part 1 is literally the retail's worst nightmare in 2022. Part 2 is makes you really smart.
Yeah, you got to pay off that loan, man. Holy, that interest though.
No. Don't worry about Tim. He's doing fine, obviously.
No, I'm just saying that's a big interest. Anyway,
Timothy, I want to learn a little bit more about you, man. Like, let's do a little. What's that show with the old dude, Dave Ramsey? Oh my gosh, let's do a little Dave Ramsey show really quick. Can I also ask you just really quickly? Just give us a ballpark on the FICO score and the average income. I would love to know that. Let's get a good. I want to know how
Dave Ramsey really gets away with asking people like everything and getting them to expose.
Give me your social security number, and
we got 750 FICO. Not bad.
Perfect. Love it. You're right in the range. You're
like the photo.
And then after he tells us his income, he has to tell us what he does to make.
No, I don't want to hear that. I'm not trying to expose him.
And then like where he lives, which is.
Yeah, and what state is that? We just need to know.
120 gross. Not bad.
Buddy.
Timothy.
Love it, Timothy.
And Tim, where do you live? Because 120 in Alabama is like 15 million low key. So
no.
What?
Oh, negative.
That was the
what was
Alabama's one like
Alabama's cheap.
What was the name of your first pet, Timothy, in the street you grew up on?
Yeah. Mother's
not
maiden
like
name?
compared to New York or Toronto. I mean, Alabama's like I don't think eggs are
He
$30.
says O negative.
I know it's too good. Too good.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, what? Oh, what's STL? What is STL?
St. Louis.
Oh, so 120K.
How do I know that? I'm not even
I don't
in
know
your
how you know
country.
I don't know that.
Sophie. Okay. Yeah. So if he's making 120 grand gross for 2022 and then making 43 grand on just options premiums, I mean,
Well,
he was doing fine with his personal loans.
sounds like Timothy's a bear because we just got out of a rough market. How's he making money?
Yeah. Yeah. Are you betting against SoFi? How'd you make so much money?
Timothy, what the hell?
Well, what if that's the punchline? He's like, oh, by the way, all the options are
Yeah.
against SoFi.
I'm here to just bet against what you guys say. That's all.
I used their loan to bet against them. and they
Yeah, it's
crapped
like some
money.
complicated spread.
Yeah.
Dude, did y'all
And
see
now-
that
but
Wall
now he's
Street
on
Bets
the
guy that took out a $50,000 loan on Wall Street Bets and lost it all?
That's
From
like
a
a,
SoFi
that's a
loan?
regular Tuesday for Wall Street Bets.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
Timothy, be honest. Be honest. Be honest. Out of the four of us, who are you really like hedging? Like,
Yeah, who's the one? Who's the Jim Cramer of the SoFi Weekly?
Oh.
yeah.
Oh boy, it's not
Um,
Tevis because he's been in Tesla forever. So Tevis has Tesla under his belt. I don't have a win yet. I have
I
Palantir
think
and
you guys
SoFi,
do.
which are not wins at all yet. So I don't have one. Riley has fucking Open Door on his back, so he has to deal with that shit. And
Yeah.
then
And you guys are
Dude,
private
Open Door
investors. Please keep it
last
to
month
yourself.
is like up 103%.
yeah, but it's $2 now, Riley. Like,
I know. I know.
and then Tannor, I don't know what Tanner's been in Bitcoin for a while, so Tannor has Bitcoin on his belt, so he's got to win as well.
Yeah, you're actually really heavy in Palantir. I saw your tweet today.
That's 69% of my portfolio.
Whew.
Amazing. Wow.
Fun. It's fun. I like it.
I don't think you're gonna. I think that's gonna be an amazing investment.
I mean, I hope so. I mean, look, maybe it's not, but we'll see.
All right, let's go through the actual like other pieces of news because we're like almost like halfway through this thing.
What else do we have to talk about? Do we have anything else?
Well, Riley had a whole thread of news.
Okay, so I went to the crypto stuff. The first one is Riley. Is this worth talking about their next generation banking platform?
Well, that's the first time Galileo is really kind of. I don't know if it's the first time,
Yeah.
but it's kind of crazy because Galileo is starting to actually advertise the words "next generation banking platform."
Yeah,
which
the reason why
is
this is so important is because it's Galileo saying this. Like, this
Yeah.
isn't the
Yeah.
product.
Why is
This is
I guess-
Technisys' product, right? This is Technisys' product. So, like, the fact that Galileo's coming out and doing this is really showing you guys that they are offering this product. Like, the AWS of
Yeah.
fintech is actually coming together now.
Yeah, well, Galileo is like the face of it because they have the best branding. If you look at their website, Technisys looks like a dropout high school like message board. It's so bad.
But honestly,
The-
that's fine though. Like, they can drop off the map. We don't need
Yeah.
the name. Galileo and Technisys is not like, this is not Johnson and Johnson. Let's just Galileo, you know? Like,
yeah,
We don't need two
Galileo has a
names.
better. Yeah, for real. Just that's okay. So in Q4, do y'all think we're gonna actually have a lot of tech talk about 2023? Or do you think, because like right now, the main product that they've been working on, SoFi Pay in 4, is basically done, the back end stuff. So like they have developers working on other stuff. What do y'all think they're going to start talking about new tech?
Yeah, I mean, look, just anecdotally, right? Judging from the trends that we've heard on earnings calls before, it's pretty bland stuff for SoFi. It's not like a Tesla earnings call where like they drop all of these hints for what's coming. Generally, SoFi is a slower burn because they'll just drop article after article like every couple of weeks. They don't wait to just drop all the big news on earnings day. And a lot of the questions I would expect this time around are going to be around, options, buy now, pay later would be the most exciting ones. Probably around, where do you see the macro and personal loan originations
this
are
is
going to
what
be
you
asked.
think. This is what you think Wall Street analysts are going to ask, is about options and buy now, pay later.
I hope they talk about it.
They're not going to say a word, man. It's going to be
There you go.
nothing. It's going to be nothing but personal loan origination.
And
That's the only talk.
SoFi doesn't have like retail investor questions on, that you can actually submit and vote on, which would actually be cool. So Anthony Noto, if you're listening, I'd love to submit questions. I'm sure Tannor would as well. But
they probably won't talk about tech, but they'll talk about where they're focused on, and hopefully it is tech, and hopefully it is the Galileo partnerships that they've been hinting at for a while. Noto has been saying he's been talking to some big potential partners, and they're finally starting to advertise the next generation bank. So I don't know. I really
on
really
that
hope so.
same vein, Riley, the guidance is going to be really important. And I think that a lot of the conversation is going to center around the guidance, how they're seeing the landscape fold in the new year, and where they actually are placing their numbers for next quarter, Q1, and also full year expectations. Because, I mean, 2022 was a shit year for the stock, but at the same time, every single quarter they raised guidance for the full year, and every single quarter they triple beat. So if that trend flips and they say, hey, we double beat this time on top and bottom line, but guidance is now no bueno, stock's gonna, take a tumble.
Why do you even put your hands through your hair? You're not doing anything.
Yes, I am, bro. First of all, my head started hurting because
why are you dressed up like a magician tonight?
Oh, so you finally acknowledged my outfit. Well, now that you have acknowledged it, 56 minutes into the stream, I dressed up like this because I love you guys and I like having fun on the podcast. So I dressed up.
He was legitimately naked whenever we joined the call.
No.
Like actually.
And if it was,
actually,
don't say how many inches it was because people are gonna get scared. So just relax when we're talking about this. All right.
Are you gonna do any magic tricks for us, Amit?
Actually, I did magic tricks when I was little. I have a deck of cards. I know,
did.
I actually
Could
studied
we?
magic for a while.
no, we know
Yeah,
why you got the jacket. We're aware. Like,
Yo, I got this from Macy's like 3 years ago. In a while.
you should have bought more Palantir shares. They would have been worth more. I mean, what's the point?
Hey, this jacket I raised, I wore on a live stream when I was raising money for my startup, and we raised 40,000 in one day, in actually 4 hours.
Well, there you go.
So this jacket is a nice little ROI. Just
Yeah.
Is there anything else left to talk about, Sofi?
Well, I kind of want to say a little bit more about earnings predictions and these sorts of things. So you guys were saying, Tevis, that sounded like a Riley thing to say. I can't even believe you said they're going to talk about options and buy now, pay later. They're not going to say a word.
Hey, man, I can hope. That's what I want to hear, at least.
I know they're not going to talk about that. I wish they would. I wish they always talk about the dumb numbers.
No, I think you know what? There's going to be
No. Hold on. I know exactly what they're going to talk about. I know exactly what SoFi is going to spend the majority of their time talking about.
Go ahead.
They will be talking about the earnings call API quarter partnership that they have recently launched. Quarter app.
No, dude.
Oh, gotcha. I was
integrated their app with this other app to listen to
They're
earnings.
not focused on their invest core right now.
Yeah.
If they will, that would be interesting. But
all right, Tannor, floor is yours. Edwin said, "Give us some hype, Tannor." So let's go.
Man, there's no hype. I'm just saying they're going to be talking. They're going to be talking about personal loan origination. They're going to be talking about how strong their client is. Okay, all their customers are extremely strong. FICOs are strong. We are doing what no other lender will do, and we're going above and beyond. That's going to be one topic. The second topic is a big shift to Galileo B2B. That is what the big conversation's been about, because I'm with Zachary Perret here, the CEO of Plaid. There is going to be a massive shift. They've already done it in the last 2 quarters. Anthony Noto is so smart. Okay, whenever student loans, he saw it getting canceled. What is this? All right,
Noto's gonna be hammered.
It's probably good.
Dude,
I was thinking you said Anthony Noto's smart, and I was like, I can't wait to clip this and send it to Anthony Noto, and he's gonna want to come on our pod. I was thinking all this stuff, and then this fucking shows up.
It's okay. We can still clip. We can clip this out, man. This is the fun stuff.
Okay.
Remember to cut the part where he's talking about inches and everything. So
it's a morning earnings.
Oh fuck!
It's a morning earnings, so it's gonna be like 4 a.m. Anthony Noto's time. So if he hasn't pulled an all-nighter and is drunk as strongest words, he's gonna be cranky AF.
Has a CEO ever been drunk on an earnings call? Has that ever happened?
Sure.
You think it's happened?
Oh yeah.
Bro, have you heard
actually
Tesla
you think it's
earnings calls like 2 years ago?
But Elon wasn't drunk. He just acts drunk sometimes. But
The guy gets like 2 hours of sleep every night. Like, just let him.
Yeah,
It's a
so
little
Jay brings up a good point. The credit loss provisions. I mean, every bank has been, signaling that. Ally was the latest. What are we thinking there in terms of like, is that going to be as aggressive as some of the banks or not so much?
I think so. I think it's going to be just as aggressive. But yeah, someone's echoing here.
Yeah, I think it.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, it's
a
minute.
It's a minute.
Yeah. So just let me do the talking a bit. But yeah, I was just saying before, whenever student loans were getting canceled out, personal loans were coming in, and they kept pushing this product, and now they're starting to push B2B Galileo. And I bet you that's just in case if there starts to be a harder market in the lending side, which is expected for personal loans. So but just because we have a little bit of a tight quarter doesn't mean that there's anything wrong here. It's like that YouTuber that you really like, Amit. I think his name's Joseph Carlson.
Awesome. Yeah.
He even
I
said
like him
that.
too.
Like people are so short term that they can't have one quarter of just like trying to set a foundation. Like it's ridiculous, So I think this will be a very pivotal quarter for them, and it'll be amazing to see what next year's guidance is. I love a Q4. It shows so much.
And also, if the stock does tank on earnings, everyone that didn't get to really load up in the 4s or the low 5s, like it's an opportunity. If you're long SoFi, you can give them 1 quarter, as Tannor is saying, and you get to play.
Nobody is building what SoFi is building, and what SoFi is building is going to be extremely valuable. And in my personal opinion, like banks suck, and there's nobody trying to capture the specific use case that banks could possibly have. And I'm just so excited about that. I hate being bullish, and I like to be objective, but
Mute your mic, man.
I think if they don't provide guidance, Jay, if they don't provide guidance for 2023, the market's going to take that as negative, and it'll probably fall pretty heavy on that. Like providing bad guidance is one thing. Not providing guidance at all is I think even worse from the market's perspective. I don't know. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, it seems to be the new trend is not showing guidance, but who knows? I think it allows the stock to have higher multiples if you do show guidance, but who knows? Ooh, fun one.
So this is really cool because Chris Hager, his prediction and his article is 7.3 billion. Just from the rate, the trend that it's going now, that's going to be really exciting if we have $7 billion in direct deposit. But that's just a linear trend. I feel like it might be a little higher just because of all this APY talk. I know, Tanner, you probably don't think that's going to contribute to the members, but direct deposit for sure. SoFi Plus, literally, they've created this whole. They spend a lot of time creating this SoFi Plus membership product to incentivize people to start adding their direct deposit. So they spend a lot of time on that because I feel like it's really important. But this is going to be really fun to see on the Q4.
Yeah, but I think what SoFi dominates, where a lot of people don't quite understand in the finance space, is a direct deposit client. It is a premium plus client. Imagine a client on SoFi that is paying monthly, 10 times the revenue for a direct deposit client versus a traditional client that just maybe wants to use SoFi money or invest occasionally, like Amit, for example. That type of client, a direct deposit client, we're expecting massive numbers for this, or I shouldn't say we are. I am expecting massive numbers there. In Q2 of 2022, they saw 37% of their members that joined in the first month of joining SoFi Money actually converted over to a direct deposit user. In Q3, the most recent quarter, it was 50%. I have a feeling that this quarter in Q4, it's going to be even higher. And that means not only are we converting people at a ridiculous rate, but even faster going forward. So that is such a recipe for success that no one is giving, nearly enough credit for, considering we're trading at, price to book right now. Nothing?
Yeah, that's a good point.
What would be the bear case on deposits if it's not 7.3 billion? What would be like a bad level of deposits?
We're too new. How do you know, right?
There's literally no way. There's no way that we don't get 7. I feel like 7 point, or I don't know, anything above what we're. There's no way that we're not going to be having just an insane amount of deposit growth. There's every catalyst is pointing in that direction. And it's only a good case. So what is it? Chris said for every $100 that we get in direct deposit, SoFi makes like $1.30. I'll correct that in just a moment, but that might not seem like a lot. But when we're talking about billions of dollars, that's going to be a hell of a lot of money coming in. So they're $1.25 to $1.50 for every $100 in deposits. That's how much money SoFi makes, and it's going to add up pretty quickly.
So
I think the first year we're actually is this quarter going to close out the first year of us actually having deposits? Because like the bank charter, we got it in January, so this is Q4.
Yeah, so technically, I mean, 4 quarters, but not technically, because like there was 21 days or 22 days there where we didn't have it in January, so it won't be a full.
It wasn't a light switch. They had to switch a bunch of accounts from SoFi Money over to.
My point is just we don't have a lot of data points. We have like 3 other data points.
Yeah,
very little. But I think Chris, he's got to go to Florida in the morning or something like that. What he said, but I'll give some pushback on that because. I disagree. And what he's doing, or I assume what he's doing at least, is he's taking the difference between our warehouse facilities and our, cost to actually fund the deposits. And then he's keeping that, which is what we get to take, right? Is the difference in costs. And then that is what we get to keep. And so I assume that's what he's doing per $100, $1.3 for every $100 of deposits. Makes sense. The problem is what happens whenever our deposits fund our actual personal loans, and that will happen. That'll happen extremely quickly, and at that point, we still can make money off deposits if we do it properly, but it's not going to be nearly as profitable as the difference between warehouse facilities and deposit costs. So just because I'm talking at a little bit of a high level here, so I just want to make sure that everyone understands what I'm talking about. Warehouse facilities are like a big corporate credit card for these banks where they're able to go out and fund their loans based off other debt providers. Okay. And then if no one will give them that debt at rates that they seem deemable, then they can actually go to the Federal Reserve as a last resort lender. But that probably will never happen for us. Anyway, so then what we actually do is we take deposits instead from clients because we're a bank now, and we offer people 3.75% or 2.5% as a checking account. But because we're offering such high rates, it's because our warehouse facilities are probably along the lines of 4.5% or 4.25% or something along these lines, where that extra 0.75 or 0.5% margin there is what we used to have to pay before we were a bank. Now we don't. But once the deposits get past the amount of personal loan originations, then we still have to pay these people 3.75% or 2.5%. We can't not pay them. Oh, sorry, we have no more loans to give out. Like, that's not how it works. So we still have to give them the rate, but then we have to look for fixed income products to actually lend out at a higher rate. And right now, that might be feasible. But as time goes on, if Fed lowers their rates and these sorts of things, that will no longer be feasible. This is why, Amit, last week, you said, what's going to happen to SoFi's checking and savings accounts going forward? They will have to lower it because it'll become a big liability. Deposits on a bank are looked at as a nice thing, but they're actually a liability to the bank. They're a big cost, because we have to offer these people an APY. So, yeah, anyway, that's my piece.
Brian, right. I think you had something.
I don't. That's if Tannor wants to show it in a minute. So, Tannor, you look at it because I don't really know what it means. It's in your DMs, but
okay.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I think there's a good argument for. I think a lot of the stuff we talked about, either getting to 500 or not getting to 500, getting to 7.3 direct deposits or not. I mean, hopefully we get close to both of those numbers. I tend to agree with Tannor on the 500K. I would love to see that happen, but I also don't think that's.
I think it is. There's so many catalysts. I think y'all are wrong.
Well, this will be fun.
Because we also have like another additional million users that are probably going to be using the referral codes. Like, I mean, this stuff has to compound, word of mouth and referral codes. Like, don't y'all think that we have to start
But
making more
why
than
would you say that from
400,000?
every quarter that's happened since we've gotten 500,000 members?
Because we just had a low float. Like we have 4 million members, but like once we have 10 million members, how like do you still
But
think
we
we're
don't
only
have
going to
10
be around
million.
about
You're
400,000?
changing.
I know, but like at some point we have to our guidance of members, it has to go up
on an
eventually.
absolute basis, not on a percentage basis, on an absolute basis. Every subsequent quarter makes it that much easier for us to hit a 500,000 number.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But for now, I think we're going to save on costs. And
so sorry, just to finish that thought, if it's not 500,000 members this quarter, it better be 500,000 members in Q1 because we'll be over 5 million at that point.
I don't know where these arbitrary numbers come up. Like, oh, it better be by Q1. Like,
assuming we maintain the same growth rate sequentially quarter over quarter, percentage basis.
Yeah, but why would you assume that? It's been going down every quarter.
Not by much.
No, but not by much. It's not stagnant. So assuming we're going on a downtrend and of a growth rate, right? So just in case everyone's listening, we're not making sufficient amount of members. We are gaining exactly how Anthony Noto wants us to.
So I guess, Tannor, the argument is basically, do you think Q3 was an outlier or do you think Q3 was the start of a trend, of a downtrend?
What about Q2?
Q2 was Q2 was on target. It was like 11 or 12% quarter over quarter.
Yeah, but it wasn't 500,000 where previously we have hit 500,000. So why did we hit 500,000 that one quarter, but then previous quarters after that it was less? Technically, it should be easier. But what I really think it is just back whenever we hit 500,000 members, this was not the same market. We are in a tightening market, and it's going to not be about growth, just like Zach Perret said. Zachary Perret said, the Plaid CEO. It's going to be about not growth, but survivability, profitability. Why would they want 500,000 members right now if they could take that amount of new money instead of trying to hit this arbitrary number that means nothing to Anthony Noto and actually, try to put that down and beat on earnings per share, which is a number that, Wall Street wants to see way more than member growth. Having a bunch of zeros behind your number and having one tick up does not change the stock at all. Like,
fair point.
It is a fair point, but I don't think that 500,000 number is something that Noto is shooting for either. I just think it's going to happen naturally. There's so many catalysts. Like, just the APY is ridiculous. It beats everybody. Not everybody, but it's so competitive. There's a bunch of news articles that are claiming SoFi is the best. Like, if you look, we're like the best checking and savings. Also, every YouTube review I've ever heard of thinks SoFi is amazing.
That's not true.
Yeah. You're in a pretty niche crowd.
No, but like I'm not talking. You're right, not comment wise, but like every YouTube video, I've never seen a YouTube video have anything like negatives to say. They might like say that there are
ruin our
things,
podcast 3 weeks ago by saying SoFi sucks.
Yeah. All the YouTubers I watch.
Yeah, I don't think you can have statistical significance by YouTubers.
Like on YouTube, yeah, but like product review people, they love SoFi.
Well, no, I think the app sucks, so I'm a YouTuber. Boom, there you go.
Okay, yeah, but compared to Wells Fargo or all these other banks, no way. Like,
so just so I'm aware, and I'm not betting against 500,000 members. I'm not shorting SoFi here. I'm just saying if I were to do an over under, I put the odds higher that it's under 500,000. But
can we
bottom
just
half
right
is
now,
I'm
right now on this pod, just go an actual precise number, what we think, and we'll see who's closest.
479.
You're up first.
479 for Tannor.
479. Okay, so hey, that's not that. At least you're over the last 2 quarters or 3 quarters. I'm gonna say like 530 or something. I think it'll be really. Y'all think that's crazy? I feel like there's just been a lot of momentum recently. People genuinely tend to move banks towards the end of the year.
Yeah, that would be a record quarter, correct?
100,000. I love that. Amit.
482.
482. I'll go
Gosh, you
507.
Okay, so I'm
Thank
the
you.
lowest. Okay, perfect. That makes it easy to win.
I guess I'm
All
glad
right.
I have the chess master on my side because I feel more confident.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's
All right.
it for us. I got to
Going
do Sofi
forward-
Weekly. Go ahead, Tanner.
Going forward, we're gonna do a quick chess game, $100 every week.
You're gonna,
I'm
you're
gonna
bankrupt
drain my
yourself.
bank account until
You got to
Sofi's
rewind
gonna
to the
go down
beginning.
if that happens too.
If anyone hasn't seen the beginning, rewind and you can watch the epic chess match for SoFi
I can't
shares.
believe there's
Look
like
out for some
200
special guests
people
coming out.
watching right now. This is wild.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, everybody. For the 205 people here, can you please check out the links in the description, follow on the Twitters, and subscribe on the YouTubes? It would mean the world for us. We do this every Friday. We've had 200 consistent. This is the first time I think we've had plus 200 consistent for the hour and
Consistently, yeah.
minutes. So please,
guys.
please,
If you are in
talk about
follow and
fintech,
subscribe.
if you are in fintech or know anything about fintech or think we're dumb, DM me on Twitter. My DMs are open. I talk to everybody. I actually
saying-
really want to learn.
If they think you're dumb to DM you,
No, if you think we're
Riley
dumb,
just loves
we
those
will-
DMs.
If
No,
you're a
no, I
SoFi
think if-
insider, we will not leak your name. Please give us as much
There's
information as
definitely
possible.
some SoFi employees that have options, and they're like, "I hope these motherfuckers are right because I'm trying to get rich." Like they're like, "I hope these nerds are right about my options."
yeah, we maintain confidentiality for all insiders. Just DM
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, and
All right,
we
guys.
apologize on behalf of the SoFi Weekly. We apologize about all of Amit's comments and the future ones to come.
Yeah, we just apologize for a minute.
Yeah, look out for some future special guests. We got a lot of fun
Yeah,
things
we
planned.
can-
It's gonna
we
be
can-
The
awesome.
Beatles.
We're gonna have
You
an
guys
awesome
can't,
guest
you can't
next-
do this to me.
next
We're
one.
the Beatles. We're doing it. All right. Bye, everybody. See you next week.
See y'all. Bye.